Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Science Thursday, we're going to talk about hydrogen trains stupidity. Yes, it's super stupid. So let's dive deep into it. So what's the logic behind it? The logic is very simple. We're going to use hydrogen and fuel cells, not combustion system, fuel cell to basically drive the trains. Exactly how we do with diesel trains and electric trains. So instead of overhead wires or diesel, we're gonna run on hydrogen. So what's the pipeline? Pipeline is you're gonna take electricity from the grid, exactly how this puppy does, convert that into hydrogen, and then store that hydrogen, as in compress it and all that jazz, put it into the fuel train, into the tanks will feed the fuel cell will feed the battery. Now, like, why the heck there is a battery there? Well, again, from a stability point of view, and not to mention regeneration point of view, you do not want fuel cell directly feeding the inverters. It can be done, it's just not preferred way of doing it, electrically speaking. Heck, even hydrogen fuel cell electric cars, they are electric cars with smaller battery. That's why even people say, like, you take electric car, you eat majority of the battery, that's a hydrogen car. That's the reason for it. You always need battery feeds the traction motors. Of course, they will have motor driver and all that, but that's the pipeline, energy pipeline. You take electricity, you hydrogen conversion it, store it, put it into a train's tanks will feed the fuel cell will feed the battery will feed the electric traction motor. That's how it works. Now, what's the benefit of it? Benefit is no wires. While these wires are awesome, they are expensive, and in some scenarios people do not like them in terms of visual. So even if they can afford it, they may not want it just out of look, especially if it's a scenic route and all that jazz. So that's one thing. Second, emission. Basically, India lucked out very early because we had some people who were very smart, and we forced ourselves to electrify, and very early on. And we were like, that's just a waste of money. No. As fuel prices went up, our electrification cost was like, it started to pay back. We are really, really lucky that this sort of thing, it still happens in India, but it's very rare. Heck, you can see electrical pole is still here. It's just like some edge cases are still not electrified, but majority has been taken care of. We keep a fleet of diesel locomotive just in case of rescue operation and some military operations where you may have a like, hey, let's make sure that place is not easily sabotageable. So no emissions, no wires, and refueling would be same as basically a diesel system. So you will not have like, hey, electric train would be awesome, but it takes too long to recharge. So that's the logic behind it. Sounds good. So are there any other options of before jumping into a boom boom gas? Well, yes, the most practical long-term option is overhead wire. We call it catenary also, these puppy basically. Now, the best advantage of this technology is high speed, meaning if you really want to go, I mean go, as in like 100 km per hour, 200 km per hour, 300 km per hour, 400 km per hour, or more than that, the only way you can dump that kind of energy is this puppy, catenary wire. And it's also very energy efficient. What does that mean? That simply means if you take X amount of energy from the grid, whichever grid it may be, it could be powered from nuclear, solar, wind, whatever the heck have you. If you take X amount of energy, the amount of energy that is converted into actual motion, it's really efficient. Meaning, in the longer run, it actually makes economical sense. However, it does come with a penalty. Now, penalty is huge capital investment. Let that be very serious. Like, it's not something that you can just afford. It's like, it is brutal. If you do not plan it out properly or like do it early enough, which early is too far gone now. So basically, it becomes very capital intensive. So if you are wise enough, you will do it because in long run, it always saves you. But like, it is a tangible pain point. But we also have another option that is in between naked tracks and catenary tracks. It's third rail. Now, third rail also gives you the same advantage of efficiency. These puppies basically, you can see that it does not look too odd because again, there is no electrical pole there. Tracks would be there. So it's just one extra rail next to it. It does not look too out of place. So that's there, but does come with a side effect. It does have efficiency, but does have what we call basically slower speed. That's the penalty. These things generally run on much lower capacity, much lower oomph. So if your overhead wire could easily be 25 kilovolts, these puppy generally stay at around 800 volts to 1500 or some case 25 volt DC. So they are not designed for super duper hyper speed. They are designed for rapid acceleration and rapid deceleration. Known technology, time tested and cheaper. So if you do not want to go all out, this is the option. And if designed properly, so you can just buy the sleepers that have a bit of extension, you bolt it right there. It's super cheap. That's why it's cheap, but does come with a penalty. Your speed would be low, but efficiency is there. So for many people, it's just like if you do not have that speed bug, like I want to go fast and furious, it still makes economical sense. Then we have battery power. Now battery power is the slowest option. Now when I say slow, I do not mean like super duper slow. I mean generally they try to keep it as low as 150 kilometer per hour, in some specifications 80 kilometer per hour. Not super slow, but not like, you know, TGB kind of fast. So that is a bit of slow, but they are cheaper. They are very cheap comparatively speaking, and they have been used for hundreds of years in mines. Now, like, why the heck mines have battery trains? Well, you are talking about an enclosed space. Running a combustion engine there will reduce oxygen, and people are there, so that shall not reduce oxygen. That's first thing. Second, if you have electrical system, you could also have electrical arcs. Electrical arcs, sometimes when you have boom boom gas in those sort of mine places, yeah, that's a no-go. You do not want boom boom gas. For that reason, battery locomotives have been developed, researched surprisingly early on, like surprisingly long ago, with lead acid battery. In hex, at one point it was used in London Underground also, and many switch yards still use those sort of ancient battery technology locomotive for shunting and all that. So it's a known technology, surprisingly old, and it's by design from day one. It's designed fire safe, meaning if you buy a locomotive that is designed for battery, it will not use lithium ion or polymer. Generally it will use lithium iron oxide or something like that, which is fire safe. Even though they say lithium ion, it's just like the chemistry is different, so it's inherently safe. So these are the three options. You can just bite the bullet and bear the cost of catenary. You can basically compromise a little bit in terms of speed, get in the third rail, or you can choose the cheap option of battery. So these are your options. Now, why can't you choose hydrogen? Well, it comes to this one fundamental delusion that people have, is that energy is free. It's not free. Whenever I talk about seaweed biofuel, I always specify on this core fact that we are not making it. We are neither making basically algae or powering it. We are not doing anything. We are just harvesting it, growing it wisely. So there the energy is coming from sun. Here, energy is not free. It is never free, nor it will ever be free. Every time I have seen people like, oh, we're gonna do electric cars or electric bus or electric this, electric this. Like, where is that electricity coming from? Is it just falling out of the sky? Like, that's not how it works. Even a solar farm requires money to build it, boatload of money, and it takes boatload of wiring, boatload of grid structures to dump that energy. So wasting energy, being inefficient with this is unwise. Like, flat out, it's unwise. So energy is never free, nor it will ever become free. You could have a scenario, best case scenario, energy becomes locked in terms of cost. So basically we start to produce so much of it that it exceeds inflation's rate, and then you'll be like, okay, the price rate is stuck at some point. But here's the deal, wasting energy one way or the another, you are paying for it. And sometimes you are paying for more than one ways. And that's the worst thing. So you may like year one, it's so awesome and all that. Year 10, you'll be like, yeah, it's bankrupting us. So it's one of those things that one must be mindful about. Wasting energy is not an option. We literally destroyed the planet because we were wasting it. Heck, if we started with all the energy equipments that we have right now, back 100 years ago, we literally will not even notice about global warming by now. It's like, it will be like, it will still take so many extra years to reach this. So wasting is not an option. And I fundamentally don't get it. Like, how the heck people don't understand is like hydrogen creation and conversion fundamentally is wasteful. This is an electric vehicle option. I have linked the basically a real engineering video down below. He was the one that actually made it into a fancy graph. Again, I thought everybody knew this, but somehow people don't understand this. It's like you take energy from the grid, you put it in your charger wastes some of it, it's converting AC to DC, and then you charge it. Basically, you dump it into the battery. Battery is not going to give you 100% back, so there is some loss there. Then that energy goes into your inverters or motor driver, whatever have you. Then you drive it into motors, and then you have the full useful energy. This area is the useful energy. Now you start with the same amount of energy you take from the grid, meaning you do not do any modification to the grid. You do the charging stage, electrolysis. Electrolysis is fundamentally, by laws of physics, is wasteful. No matter what you do, it will never be as efficient as a battery system. It just won't. Because be mindful, there is oxygen also coming out of it. And when you had a room temperature liquid, somehow it became gas. Let that sink in. The energy does just not magically come into oxygen. It is leaching away from you. So there is inefficiency there. Of course, some will say, oh, we can make it this efficient, that efficient. Here's the deal. Pile up all of those layers, then it becomes horrifying. So you waste a lot of energy in electrolysis. Then you have to compress this puppy. Hydrogen is useless. Again, it's useless even if you compress it compared to a diesel tank. But Again, you have to compress it to around 400 bars or maybe even 600 bars. That's going to consume a lot of energy. That energy is coming from your grid basically. So you lose that much energy. Then you put it to fuel cell. Fuel cell is also not 100% efficient. Fuel cell is nowhere near as inverter or motor inefficiency. It's directly consumes more than that. Be mindful. That's why whenever you see these sort of train, steam is coming out of it. Think about it. It's like how the heck water boiled. It consumes energy. So fuel cell basically wastes a lot of energy. Then you have inverter, then you have motor, then you have useful energy. Oh, and the interesting fact, you are paying for all of this. You are paying for 100%. Nobody gives a damn how you get the energy. People give a damn how you spend the energy. Meaning, if government is like, hey, railway department, here's your line. Let's say we're gonna give you 100 megawatt hour for free of charge on the house. How much distance you cover, they're not going to care about. They're only going to notice their end of the bargain. Their end of the bargain would be here. If you use a battery system, you can get useful amount of work. But if you use a hydrogen system, God help you. And you're still paying for this. So this is a very critical case. And this on top of that is not only bad, this is also cancerous, and it has compounding interest. What does that mean? That simply means year 1 you will be wasting this much energy, year 2 you still would be wasting, year 3 you will still be wasting, but you are still paying for this. And as energy prices goes up, this will become more painful, even more painful and more painful. At some point you will be like, it would have been cheaper if you have just bite the bullet and put the catenary wire or third rail if you want to do in cheap, or just used battery, because you are wasting almost twice as that. And be mindful, battery systems generally have much bigger batteries, so they can do much more a sustained region and other things also, which makes them far more efficient. So yeah, inefficiency, this aspect I genuinely don't get. People like, oh, we're just gonna get electricity. It's like whole world wants to do this, but we simply cannot, because it takes time, it takes energy to do that. It's such a extensive thing. You're just like, we're gonna do it. It's like, where the heck you're gonna get solar? Solar is not free, wind is not free, grid is not free. All of these things consume energy. So you're gonna waste that much. That becomes a burden on the grid. It's like fundamentally this delusion that people have is like, oh, renewable means free. Renewable is not free. Renewable means it's cheaper than fossil fuel, and fossil fuel is expensive, not cheap. So that's the whole point. Like, how the heck people are forgetting that? It's like we are wasting energy and you are paying for it every day where you use this system. So something like a locomotive where you're using it continuously, yeah, God help you. Then we come to the bankruptcy part of it, because trains are publicly funded. Now again, it's one thing to do experiment, and people should experiment it. That's how we will learn. And people did experiment. But if they are privately funded, they will be like, hey, we experimented, it did not work out, we are out of there. But that's not how world works. Majority of world's railways, Indian Railway, or whatever railways you want to look into it generally are publicly funded, or sometimes publicly and private partnership funding, meaning money is not coming back. And they won't pull the plug even if it's harmful. So overhead wires and third rail, they are costly. That's fundamental fact. But they are cheap and they are efficient in long run. And they have a slower payback. Of course, they're gonna pay back over time. And it assumes that your fuel prices are gonna go up, which it does. And because of inflation, we know it will up. So fundamentally, it's efficient investment, but it does require a big loan from day one. That's a known fact. Again, countries have done this. We have learned it the hard way that it does make sense. However, when this sort of news comes out, where the hydrogen trade, everybody reads the news. But when it comes out that it failed, nobody reads the news. Like, for example, this is Germany's system where they're like, yeah, that company was like, no, let's let go of hydrogen. What they are going is 102 battery powered vehicle and 27 catenary powered vehicle. They're just like, dude, it does not make sense. Like, either we bite the bullet and get into catenary and be sorted for life, or buy a battery system, and at least it will be expensive, but it won't be as expensive as diesel. That makes sense. Hydrogen is like, people already talk about hydrogen. It's like, oh, we're just going to get hydrogen. We're just going to make hydrogen conversion plants. It's like, how? Are those things free? Because here's the deal. People bitch about a fast charger. These things do not need fast charger, because again, we run locomotives at megawatt ratings. It just needs catenary wire. And some station can just have catenary wire on top. It's like they don't even notice it. Hybrid designs already exist, by the way. Hitachi also makes it. Siemens also makes it. It's a Control-C, Control-V. You can just buy it right now. So their analysis, German people, mathematics, I'm sad that they had to fall that much to realize it does not make sense, but at least they have come around and they're like, yeah, this puppy will consume money and burn it. 80% more expensive than battery, which is expensive than diesel. So This will only bankrupt them. Be mindful, energy wastage you have to pay every time you use this. So that's the whole point. And we are just ignoring the cost, running cost, because be mindful that wasteful is coming from you. Even with solar, even with wind, you are still paying for it. We are just ignoring that. And water. Now, of course, not every nation is water stressed as India, but India is water stressed. So I'm thinking about it. It's like, where the heck you going to get the water from? Like, and you need pure water. I mean, absolutely deionized water, which is difficult, not impossible, but difficult, and not to mention costly. We're just gonna get it. It's just get it. And be mindful, why can't we collect from there? Yeah, that's becoming a steam. So you have to have a very big tank to store steam, condense it enough to liquefy it. Yeah, good luck with that. So if you ever wondered where the heck national debt come from, and if your first thought was weapons systems, yes, that's a lot of chunk of national debt comes from that, because it's an insurance policy. It's not going to make money back, but we hope it creates technology that does help us along. Okay, that's one way. But where other things are coming, projects like this. Like this is India's hydrogen railway system. Now, I hope, I pray I'm wrong, because the one individual had the luxury of actually physically seeing that and walking into the train. It's a toy train. It's designed for heritage railway, and like it's a locomotive thing. In our hill stations, we utilize that. It's well suited for that. The price he talked about was 22 crores. And I'm pretty sure he talked about like that's one coach and this coach, and it's like the number of crores. If you do not know the Indian rupee, does not matter, does not worry about that. Just focus on the number 22. It's huge. That's the price of a main line, as in a basically main track that we utilize, basically broad gauge railway locomotive that is like more than few thousand horsepower, at least more than 1000 horsepower. That costs that much money, and that's directly running electricity and is pulling trains. This puppy has few coaches. It has the same cost. It's like it's the same price of WAG 12 or more than that. And not to mention, that's just the train. And they're talking about we're gonna invest hundreds of crores for like freaking hydrogen plants. I'm like, that much money they could have just put a battery station and put a basically third, or directly put third rail, like just bypass it, or put battery in for some places. You may, some turns you may not want to. It's just like, who cares, just put a basically battery for that sort of distance. The range required for this is very limited, like 100 kilometers. The speed, because again turns a dangerous spot, so it is very slow. So why the heck it needs hydrogen? It's like the amount of money they said. I hope I'm wrong. The money was too huge for toy train. It was too huge. So it does cause bankruptcy, and all the politicians that titillated you with hydrogen, they're gonna take the money and go to Russia, enjoy it, and while you're gonna starve to death. So bankruptcy. At least Germans figured it out. So what about the stupidity? Well, this is the part that saddens me. We spent 120 years, as of this year, as in 2023, the first basically overhead wire system goes 120 years back. We have 1 century of data, more than 1 century of data, to figure out how to deliver energy directly to the train. Basically, where the motion is, we directly putting energy there. And that's the most efficient system. You cannot break that efficiency. And somehow, and not to mention, same amount of time we have also worked with battery systems. Be mindful, this is London Underground system, battery system they have worked, and other places have also used locomotives, battery locomotives. So we have put so much research, so much development, and everybody is just like so itching to just eat that. It's like, have you even focused like why the heck we spent 100 years? And like the real world data is here. It works. It's a known system. It's efficient system. Everybody wants to do it. Heck, the whole reason Britain, France, and Europe and Italy, they are suffering with this is simply because they did not electrify early enough. If they had done it, it would have been easy now. But they did not. So now they are stuck in a price where they're like, hey, copper is expensive, but diesel is also expensive. So how can we run both of them? And they are stuck in that loop. So fundamentally, we could do battery system. And again, this is Japanese system, and they also have the same issue where majority of their lines are electrified, but some of the remote lines, they are not. So they are like, hey, let's just use lithium ion technology. I have this normal pantograph system. Be mindful, this is a hybrid system. So they can just pull down the pantograph. If they are running on battery, everything is awesome. When they go to stations, they have pulled the pantograph up, charge it, then go again to the next station. And when they go to main line, they just use it. Not even have to worry about it. Heck, you can put solar panel on top just to trickle charge it. So this is the Indian railway that I was talking about. If it's stuck in a place, solar panels can trickle charge it slowly. Now, it's not going to run the train, but at least it's going to do something. So this fundamentally frustrates me. It's like, why we are so eager on wasting money? It's like, oh, by the way, this trial also failed. I hope it was minor failure, because the amount of money spent on this, I hope it was a minor glitch. It was like, oops, hydraulic line, I'm pretty sure it was hydraulic failure. So something minor. It's like, oh, this malfunction happened or something. I hope, I pray, because the money this puppy consumed is like, dude, and I'm reasonably sure if a competent engineer is there, they're like, dude, just eat all the system, put some more batteries, put third rail, and just like forget about it. It's like all railway stations will look exactly the same. Of course, there will be a small place, but nobody's gonna, oh, there is a rail here. Nobody's gonna do that. People hate wires. I get it. No wires. It will be rail. So it can be done. And hybrid designs already exist. You don't need fast chargers. You need the same wiring that we use for, like, DC systems. It's not even fast from railway point of view. It's like, bro, we run to 1500 volts, 800 volt or 400 volt battery is like, bruh. So it's super duper efficient, simple solution that we can do. We are like, what if we burn the public money? And then people wonder why the heck inflation is going so high. We keep burning it. I'm surprised that it's not even worse than this. So that's truly tragic. It's like the amount of stupidity. It's like, even the Germans are saying it, yeah, it does not work. And people, again, here's the deal. That's what people are supposed to do. It's like, hey, let's just bite the bullet and invest into electrification right now. If it's expensive now, it's going to be even more expensive in the future. Let's not burn the planet down just because hydrogen. I'm genuinely shocked among the price with this. I hope, I pray the price I heard is like at least few zeros off. This should not be that expensive. So this was my presentation on basically hydrogen train stupidity. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please hit the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.